nation in this country too. A few days ago, I walked in painful steps, first to the Nairobi County mortuary, and then to the Kenyatta National Hospital mortuary. According to every account, a large number of our children, Gen Z, have been injured by Kenya police directed bullets, tear gas, canisters, rumburams, and water cannons before being brought to these facilities by their friends and the Red Cross. At the Kenyatta National Hospital, numerous children who suffered severe injuries needed the best possible care. At the Nairobi County Mortuary, our fallen martyrs rested in the coldest chambers. These unsettling images will linger in my mind for a long time. An elderly woman's cries pierced the air just as I began to address the reporter's gathering. She was searching for her grandson, a peaceful protester who hadn't returned home. Last seen in Githurai. She was searching for any report about his whereabouts. It had been days since she last saw him after he had said he was joining the peaceful protest to hashtag reject the finance bill 2024. Wanjiru recital of our family's futile search for Ismail Karanja, which took them from police stations to hospitals to morgues, visibly moved me and brought all of us present to a halt, because she actually said, stop it. Ismail Karanja and many others are missing and unaccounted for because they were peacefully protesting against the Ruto regime's atrocities. Our children are laying in the mortuary because Inspector General of Police, Japheth Kome, and his Lieutenant Bungei, both Ruto appointees, executed a shoot-to-kill order. Kome and his subordinates ruthlessly and blinkingly ended their young lives because they dared use their constitutionally guaranteed right to peaceable assembly, demonstration, and picketing under Article 37 of our Constitution 2010. This is the state of the nation today, with grandparents seeking their missing children at police stations. This is the state of the nation, where sisters and brothers receive calls informing them that their siblings are in hospital beds after receiving life-saving care. This is the state of the nation, in which fathers and mothers have been forced to identify the remains of their sons and their daughters. This morning, far too many households and villages are either in mourning or in a heightened state of anxiety. The heartbreaking pleadings of our mothers, fathers, and sisters seeking the status of their loved ones are rippling the air from Rongai to Nairobi, from Machakos to Eldoret, from Garissa and Mombasa, and all areas of our country. Our children's phones have been switched off. Their social media accounts have been erased to hide Ruto and Kome's crimes. We stated a few days ago, as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, that June 25th would go down in the history of our country as a day of infamy. We were mistaken. This Ruto-led regime is the greatest infamy wrought on Kenyans in their 61-year-old independent history. And if it wasn't obvious before, it is now even clearer. Ruto must go home now. Yesterday, and through the executive office of the president, a quote-unquote youth engagement forum for inclusive development missive was publicly issued, signed by the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, Felix Koskei. There was an announcement, quote, that a multi-sectoral forum will be constituted to engage with all stakeholders in addressing the concerns raised by the youth. The communication was long in acronyms and short in apology for the state-sanctioned shoot-to-kill order that led to the massacre of hundreds of our children's future. According to all reports, the leaderless and tribalist Generation Z has disregarded with more than contempt this embarrassingly inept sanitization effort. They have rejected this dictatorship. They demand answers today about where their comrades are being detained. They are demanding answers today about where the bodies of the slain heroes have been concealed. They want nothing to do with Ruto. Indeed, as of last midnight, I think last night, Gen Z had raised in excess of 28 million shillings. And they are so transparent about it. They know where to send it, which hospital. An example in open governance and fidelity to accountability. To our tribeless and leaderless Generation Z, who have braved the streets to preserve and defend the Republic from Ruto, know that I have the deepest admiration, and respect for you. Your tipping point may prove to be Kenya's saving grace, securing the next generation and generations to come. To our fallen Gen Z martyrs, you will not be forgotten. The stain of your blood covers our national flag. What Kenya, the region, Africa, and the world have witnessed over the last 2 weeks is a citizenry uprising, one that will not be quelled by jest from a person they detest. As a Wiper Democratic Movement, we will set an example by taking disciplinary action against our members of parliament who voted in favor of the repugnant Anti-People Finance Bill 2024. We will remove them from their leadership positions in both the party and in parliament. We urge other Kenyan people-centric parliamentary parties to follow suit and recall all those representatives in the legislature and the executive who have failed you time and time again. I'm aware that while the National Assembly and the Senate recently finished processing the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill 2024, Ruto has yet to assent to this very important legislation. The Kenya Kwisha dictatorship, and I now pronounce on Kitui, Kenya haitaisha. They may want it finished, but it will not. This dictatorship has purposely obstructed not just the recall of anti-people MPs, but also the staging of a snap election as a result of the 204 plus recalls. This is a higher subversion for the Kenya people's will. And I think it's important to let the country know that the recall clause takes effect after August, exactly 2 years. Then the signatures that get collected right, become meaningful. And I think the Gen Z are on that already, onto that. Recall of the 204 MPs who voted against the conscience of the Kenyan nation. I have faith the Kenyans led by Gen Z will march through the rock-strewn trail and climb over this boulder, and in a similar peaceful manner as they did to protest the punitive finance bill 2024, ensure that this crucial bill is enacted in the coming weeks. Of course, it's been enacted, but signed into law. The one thing William Ruto should do is to sign it expeditiously, and because it was one of the products of the National Dialogue Committee, whose report now is just staring at the principles, unable to do anything or unwilling deliberately to do anything. But this is critical, because a country without an independent electoral boundaries commission cannot carry out the next important election. I want to say that after desecration of Parliament, the blood spilling on Parliament Road, a young man whom I found at City Mortuary with his brains blown off by a sniper from on top of Parliament, I want to urge parliamentarians, do you sincerely feel you should go and sit in that august house at a time like this? Or is indeed the best thing for you to do? Parliament can perhaps even dissolve itself. I'm asking on Speaker Wetangula to dissolve Parliament, himself resign as a measure of solidarity with the Kenyan people. Perhaps he will save his legacy if he does so. So that this country then can go for a snap election, and so that our men will go back to the barracks, our men in uniform. Are we still a democracy or a dictatorship for real? I saw what Duale tried to do, amend what the court had ruled, the court of first instance, that they needed to define the scope of engagement of the military. And then he brought in the 47 counties, for goodness sake. Are we just supposed to just sit and say nothing when we militarize this country? But I thank our military. I saw MATIANG'I escorting them, clapping for them, because their mandate is not to shoot and kill Kenyans. Their mandate is to kill Kenyan enemies across our common borders. And they know their mandate very well. This country obviously misses General Ogola. I don't think Ogola would have allowed this to happen. No. And I want to urge Karanja, the new CDF, to stand strong and stand with the Kenyan people, recognize their mandate. This is a serious matter what the country is going through. The country is watching. We are pained. This is not what some of us have stood for. Even when we are demonstrating, I nearly got killed myself a year ago when that tear gas canister went through the rear screen, landed between the driver and the quadra and exploded. I still keep that tear gas canister for the record of my grandchildren, to know what it means to fight for your country. Therefore, I call on Kenyan leaders to listen. If you don't listen to Gen Z, then I don't know who else you can listen to. And to attempt to divide them by inviting their leaders. They have said no. As we speak, I don't know who they are. But they are Kenyans in their hundreds of thousands. You can't call that. And so leaders, take note. I think after this Gen Z effort, Any leader wanting to seeking elective post, anywhere from MCA to MP to county women rep, madam, you are not in that category, to senator, to member of parliament, and you go, who are the others?
To president.
To president.
Yes.
You go out there saying, unless you have billions of shillings, you stand no chance of getting elected. Kenyans are now watching and say, you, unless it is a calling for you. And I think leadership is a calling, just like those men and women who are served to serve the Lord from their respective areas. Kenyans, the Gen Z are saying, unless you are called to serve, don't bring your corrupted money to bribe us. We know you. So I really feel that this Gen Z have liberated our country from corruption. The issue is corruption. Corruption, they are saying no to, and they know exactly who is corrupt and where. I think some of them are doing Google direct and find out where your accounts and what are you doing. So I think we all notice. Na nataka nikamilishe hapo.